Okay, so the wise men have gotten to Bethlehem, and it was only like a couple days travel from where they were, if even that. Just depending on how fast they moved. We don't have ideas on the speed of their movement. It doesn't look like they were in a big hurry, especially now they found out that no one, like they're the first people even looking for this king. Now that they know that, they're not necessarily in as much of a rush to get to this king, but they do want to get there. They're moving with haste. They're just not moving with like a speedy rush that you would think of it. But they get to Bethlehem, and of course, there's people everywhere still, because people. I mean, remember when Joseph and Mary were in Bethlehem, there was no room anywhere. That's why they were in a manger, remember? So there's no room anywhere when these guys show up, because again, the census is still going on. They only missed Joseph and Mary by maybe, let's say they missed them by like 2 weeks. They were just there in Bethlehem like 2 weeks ago. That's when the baby was born, because about 2 weeks is how long it would take for, first of all, the circumcision to happen. You want to be there for the circumcision, and you would do it on the 8th day, and you don't want to definitely travel before that. Plus taking care of the mom and stuff, how quickly she could get ready to travel, and then getting the means and stuff necessary. Of course, they weren't rich. I mean, they were in a manger, so they couldn't afford to just buy somebody off to stay in their house. That's how packed this place was. But about 2 weeks, we'd say. They missed him by about 2 weeks. So they show up in Bethlehem, and now they're looking for this baby who's supposed to be born king of the Jews. And so when they get to Bethlehem, they're not really asking that anymore, what baby is supposed to be born king of the Jews, because they've come to realize from getting to the capital and stuff like that, in Judea and all, Jerusalem and Judea, that there's no king that anyone's aware of that's supposed to be born to the Jews. So now they're refining their search. They're kind of like how you would do a Google search. You get so many results on the first one, and it's just too much to go over. So how are you going to refine a little bit more? We'll just decide how we're going to start looking, if anything. We've got a small army of men, so they can go check them all at once. Is how many babies have been born in Bethlehem, reportedly in the past couple weeks to past few months, whatever, past year. We should say past year or two. And we'll start from there. And again, there's not records everywhere. It's not like you just go down to the hospital and you start recording that. You have to spread out and start talking to people and stuff and see what's going on. And perchance at some point they come across the family of Joseph, or even Mary, because both Joseph and Mary were of the lineage of David, so they both had to go to Bethlehem to register. So they both have family there. At some point, one of the men had to get pointed like, oh, there was a baby born here to one of our family members, but they weren't staying anywhere. They ended up actually having to stay in a manger because everything was so full. So they find that out, and they find out, oh, well, where do they live? Well, they live in another city. They live over in this city, so you're going to have to go to that city to find them. Did they give them the exact address? I don't think so. I don't think they necessarily got that kind of information on it, really, but I'm sure they got you got to go to the next city and find them. So they probably even go to the manger to see where the birthplace was. Say, all right, well, can you show us the manger? So I'm saying they showed up the manger. I'm just saying they showed up late. They weren't there anymore. Because also you got to remember, though the wise men were not at the birth of Jesus, people were there at the birth of Jesus. It was a pretty big event in the area. So it wouldn't have been really too hard if they came asking, if there's been any major births recently, anything that was spectacular, for babies being born, they would be like, yeah, actually, not too long ago, a couple weeks to a couple months or so ago, there was a baby that was born where the shepherds in the area reported that there was angels singing beforehand, and they went and showed up to the birth of this baby and hung out for a little bit. But that quite literally, while they were sleeping over the flocks and watching over the flocks one night, that the heavens opened and angels started singing and giving a message of glory and goodwill towards men. And they went and followed the angels to the place the angels said and saw the baby in the manger, and they worshipped baby Jesus. So we actually do have people in the area that are saying that, and that family does still exist. They just don't live here in Bethlehem. They had to travel here. They live back in this other city. So if you want to go see them, you have to go to the other city, and we can give you the best directions we can to them. But we don't travel that much, so we don't get to see them that often. They only came here because of the census and taxation. And of course, so there we go. The wise men take that, and they go to the city where Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus actually are. This is their actual home. So when the wise men show up, they don't show up to the nativity scene, though there were shepherds there who were in the fields, who had left the fields to come and worship, and who had if they saw anyone along the way, brought them with them. And people were probably, I'm not saying that the shepherds were going to show up, probably other people saw it. It's not like they only showed up in one field, the angels singing. I'm pretty sure it could have been sent 3 miles around. But all we have reported is the shepherds seeing it and coming to worship. And again, whoever they found, I'm certain they told about it. If they worshipped, that means they loved it so much and were so devout to it that they would tell it to other people. If you worship something, you talk about it. So they were talking about it. So the wise men get to the city again where Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus actually are, and they go to the house of Mary, Joseph, and that's where they find the young boy. That's what we hear. It's actually translated in the King James Version, the young boy. So how old does that mean Jesus was when the wise men actually showed up to his house? Anywhere from a few months old to a year or two old even. He could have been a toddler at that point. That's all we know. Like a young boy, I would say at the point where he could be walking, but you've seen children walk as early as 9 months and 10 months old sometimes. So again, he could have been very, very young. We do not know that. We just know what it says, and it says when he showed up, he was a young boy. So they show up, and here's the young boy Jesus, and they worship Jesus. They give their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. There's a small army has shown up, and to this house. And they drop off their gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And of course, when they show up and they see that this king to be born, King of the Jews, is living, his father is a carpenter. And as far as anyone's concerned in the neighborhood, that's an illegitimate child, because Mary must have slept with someone else, because Mary and Joseph both claim that they have not had sex to this day. Like, until the day Jesus was born, Joseph did not know Mary carnally until after Jesus was born. So they might be sleeping together now, but the rumor has it around town, because he meant to put her away at one point. He was going for the divorce, and he changed his mind all of a sudden. But rumor has it, Joseph is not the father of that child, and so exactly, like, he's not got the best reputation around town, and he's a carpenter, meaning that he's not a rich man. They don't live in abject poverty, but they're not in Beverly Hills either. They live in a small little town. So these men show up, and they're realizing, well, we can't just drop off all this gold, silver, and frankincense and leave, because they're probably going to get robbed in about 4 hours, if not shorter than that. They're not going to be able to just take everything we have. So we're going to have to stay here and hang out for a little bit. Well, that's going to promote a problem, because again, they are about to send runners back to Judea, to Herod, to let him know that, hey, we found the Messiah, we finally got to him, we dropped our presents, we've been worshiping him, and we're going to be here for a minute. If you guys want to come and start spreading the news to everybody else, that here we go, we found him, we did it, mission accomplished, come on and all come and worship the King with us. Let's do this. Before they are able to do that, in a dream, in a vision, an angel of the Lord came to the wise men and said, look, do not go back to King Herod. In fact, when you go to leave in a different direction than the way you came in, completely out of this land, out of this Roman Empire, and go directly back to your land, go directly back to your kingdom. And that's what the wise men did. The wise men had the vision and did not go back to King Herod. When they finally did leave, they left a different route, and they kept it as quiet as a matter possible, and left again a different route until they got out of the Roman Empire area, and then headed back directly to their kingdom. And not just did that happen, but something else happened as well, because we don't want to say a lot of time passed between that happening and Joseph's dream. And Joseph had a dream as well, and his dream was to get up. And this was when the wise men came. They came in peace and in joyfulness of heart and in innocence. But when Joseph and them leave, they're leaving in the middle of the night. This is like an exodus and a very quiet situation. So the men, when they came with a small army to carry all the goods and stuff like that. But when Joseph and Mary and the baby leave, when baby Jesus leaves, they do have to carry an entourage with them, because they still have to carry all the goods and stuff like that. So they do take a part of their family and friends with them, but they have to do it like under the shadow of night, very special ops style. They do not get to have the giant small army entourage to make sure that everything's okay. Like, they're going to be doing this really, really quiet and just sneaking out in the middle of the night. Because again, Joseph gets the same message: take child and mother, leave, go to Egypt, and stay there until I send word for thee. So, and he's going to do that shortly. But for this exact instance, the wise men show up and they're worshiping the young Jesus and dropping off their gifts, and they're making plans of how the stuff is being transferred now, and how they're going to get their family members together and make their exodus as well, because they're all going to leave. I'm not going to say like at the exact same time, but they're going to leave really close to each other in order to hide, first of all, the direction they're traveling. So they're going to split up along the way. That way, if there's any witnesses, because again, everything's coming now. Everything in these days comes from first-hand account witnesses, people seeing it. And people pay attention to everything because they're witnesses to things, so they might have to testify about it at some point. So they pay close attention. Everybody talks to everybody. Everybody knows everything about everybody. And so when they leave, they need to make this, this might not go over well. They were under pretty much order from the Rome to come back and tell the king where this Messiah was, and they're not going to be doing that. And they're going to be trying to get this Messiah smuggled out of here under secure night. So yeah, this has to be very discreet, and that's how it's going to happen. And they take off, they go to Egypt. Now Herod is very much not pleased when he finds this out, because again, runners do come back. People are watching where this entourage and stuff went, and people are talking in the towns, and the word is getting back. And the wise men never come back. They just lose them. They suddenly vanish into the Roman Empire and are never heard from again. And they come from a country we don't have diplomatic ties with. We don't even know where to chase them down to. Once they left the bounds of the Roman Empire, we have no idea where they're even going. And also, this family with the Messiah is also left. We don't even know that. We just know that we don't know that family is left. We just know that the entourage is left, because that was close to 1,000 people, you could say, like a small army, maybe even more than 1,000. We don't even know. We don't even know the number. We just know it was a small army, basically. That's gone, and gone by a different route. And for all we know, the family could or could not have been with that entourage. So there would be no way to know on that. So Herod is like, all right, well, we're going to make a point here. You Jewish people know that there's no king but Caesar. There's no emperor but Caesar. So if you're still hoarding the king and you will not give him up, then we're coming to take him by force. And of course, they went to these towns looking for him, where the wise men had been with their small army. It's not like they didn't know. Not like they couldn't find it pretty easily. It was a pretty small army. It was a small army. It wasn't hard to track. And they did the same thing and found it. And were like, all right, look, okay, make a point. We're going to kill every baby under 2 years and under in this area, just to make sure we get the Messiah, the one you call the Messiah, because you don't want to give him up. And apparently he's not here, right? No one knows what we're talking about, right? No one ever knows what we're talking about. So okay, fine, we're going to find the Messiah. You don't know where he went? Well, he's here. He's here, I'm sure. You guys said it yourselves. He should be in Bethlehem. That's where the wise men came. He said he came to this house, and these people are gone. They're not here. So where is he? Where are you hiding him? All right, get the babies. And they slaughtered all the babies 2 years and under. And that was innocent children he slaughtered, because Jesus and Mary and Joseph had already escaped into Egypt and were very rich at that point. No need to worry about anything. They could live in luxury in Egypt, who had no idea. Egypt had ties to Rome, diplomatic and trade and stuff like that, but they were a completely sovereign, different nation. Rome was not even going to try to go into there again. Not yet. They were not there yet. They were still a smaller Rome. They were going to be growing. They're growing. They're in expansion mode. They're not there yet, not in Egypt. So that's where they survive for now, until King Herod ends up dying and his son takes over. And they'll end up going back into Israel after that. But that's the end of the Christmas story. The birth of Christ story. That's the end of the birth of Christ, which we said happened back in September. And again, the wise men weren't even there for that. They ended up showing up later on, back in his hometown. And there was people at the birth, but it was the shepherds in the fields who were at the birth. And whoever they found along the way, and whoever else saw what the shepherds saw. And there you go. Happy birth of Christ.